welcome to the second part of this video. Now, you're going to see that this is what we basically have on our screen. There's no styling that has been done yet, but that's okay. So let's jump right into our code and see what we can do about that, right? So we said we have this section and we basically need to implement this card, the one that is right here. So some of the things that I actually do, but well, because I don't have the Figma file, I just sometimes want to know like what's the approximate size here. This is not going to be pixel perfect, right? Because I know when you submit your challenge to Frontend Mentor, you might want it to be pixel perfect. If you want that, then you're going to need to have the Figma file. But for this, we're going to make use of this one. If you're using Mac, in the, what is this, the preview, it allows you to do this. So this is going to be like 930 pixels. Okay. So here in this section, I'm going to give it a class name and I'm going to give it a maximum width of 930 pixels. That's about 5 XL, I think. Let's see. 1024 pixels. That's going to be a bit big. I really don't care about this right now. It's not important. If you want it to be perfect, then you're going to need to use the Figma file. Okay, so let's also give it a background color, which is basically BG. We're going to call the variable and give it white. And then the other thing that we need to do here is to give it a border radius. So we can use rounded. I'm going to go with 2XL, which is 16 pixels. Like I said, I don't have the right dimensions, but yeah, I think 16 will do. Or maybe we could save and just see what we have so far. Something like that, but it's way too big. So I might reduce this to maybe 4XL, but there. Close. Okay, then there's a padding. I'm just gonna guess maybe about. I could do that, but that's not going to be perfect. About 25 pixels, so 24. Yeah, we could give it a padding of 8. Yeah, that's way too much. Maybe 6. And then, okay, we have the padding. Now let's try and make this. Let's align this correctly. We need the text on the left side and the image on the right side. So we can do that using flex, right? So we could say flex items center, and then we could have a gap of like, I think that gap looks big. So this one is about 88. Yeah. Okay. Now we need to look at the title here. Let me see if I can move this. Yeah. All right. So we have this div and the header. Okay. So to our title, we're going to give it maybe 4XL, font bold. Yeah, but I think if you open the public file here in the style guide, you're going to find that you're given like a font weight of 700. So I just said font bold. It's close to that. Yeah, or maybe 5. Okay. And for the paragraph, text, what, base? 16 pixels. They said what? Yeah, 16, so that'll be base here. Yeah, it's just the way it is, but maybe. But we need to see that we have the right colors. Yeah, sometimes this is a bit difficult to determine when you're just looking at a picture, but this is definitely not black, so we need to change this. Probably the darker color, which is, let's see, text. We're going to use that blue, what, 700? I think that's the closest one. Which one looks darker? I think 800. Yeah. And the paragraph. Now, definitely these are using a certain color. So I think they're using the 800. So I'm going to copy this one and apply to the paragraph. Or maybe 7. Yeah, there is a slight difference. Okay, let's put some space. Maybe margin top 4. Yeah, I mean, there is some space here. So, yeah. I just put 16 pixels here, margin top 16 pixels, but you could add more if you want. All right, and then for our list, let's look at here. There is a space there. So I'm going to also give it a margin top of 4, and I'm going to give it flex so that that's actually going to be flex direction. So that's going to be column. And these small items here, because we have the image and we have the text in here. So maybe I could just, all right. So for every item, we're going to give it a flex, and then we're going to give it items center. Let's see how much gap we need between these two. Something like, yeah, something like 1 rem, like 16 pixels. So I'm just going to say 4. Okay, what about the gap in between? Because there's definitely space there. Maybe another gap of 4. Looks a little bit too much. Oh, perfect. I don't know. Oh yeah, the first one, what matters? I forgot to add here. There was a word missing. All right. Now we need to add the form here. Okay. So I'm going to create another component. I'm just going to call it form. So form, and I will handle the validation later on. For now, I just want to have this layout in place. So inside the form in here, let's look at the content that we're going to place inside. Okay, so this is going to be the form container. And then we also have this part, the input field and the label, right? So I'll probably wrap that inside a div, and then I'm going to have a label. And then here I'm going to have input field. Outside this div, I'm then going to have the submit button. Yeah. Okay, great. So we know that the form needs to take the full width. So I'm going to give it plus width full, and it needs space from the top, margin top. I'll probably give it 6, which is 24 pixels. And what else do I need from this? Okay, maybe the height. Maybe before I do the height, let's address this. For now, we're just going to hard code this value up until we actually implement the functionality. So this is going to be width full. I'm going to use flex. Items are going to be centered, and then justify between, so that we could just have one on the left side and the other on the right side. Oh, sorry, no. That should not be in here. That should be for the label. Yeah, it's the label that I want, because I'm going to place this text email address inside the label. Email address. And for the time being, like I said, I'm just going to add this span, which says valid email required, but we will dynamically handle this soon. For the time being, I just want to make sure that this is working, right? So we have these two. Okay, before I apply any styling, let me just finish at least inserting the content. Okay, we have the button, this button right here. It looks like subscribe to monthly newsletter. Subscribe to monthly newsletter. Did I get that right? Yeah, perfect. Okay, now let's just render this form inside our newsletter card, right? And we have to know that this is going to be this is going to be inside the div on the left side, right? Remember here. So it's going to be inside this div that we've already talked about. So just after the list, this is where we're going to render the form. So if you type form, you should see here, I'm going to click tab, and it gets imported. You can see that here at the top. It's there. And if I go into the browser, let's see. Okay. Yeah, so we actually have these two. They're now rendered. Let's add some styling to that. Okay, so we know that, all right, we need to apply height to this input field. So we're going to give it a height of, say, 12. If I was to measure, or maybe it's going to be more than that. 57. That's like what? Yeah, that's like 16, I guess. Ooh, it's too much. 14. Yeah, okay. And let me find the default one so that I don't have to use that. Whoops. There. All right. This is the default. It has a border. Let's give it a border to this input field border. And it's using the gray color. So we're going to use our variable gray. And it has a border radius. So I'm going to use rounded, probably large. Yeah, and we need it to take the full width, right? Yes. Okay. These two, you can see the way it's written. So we need this valid email required here on the right side. So if you remember, those are the classes I had actually written earlier on, which is flex, item center, and then we have justify between, right? So you can see now it's on the right side here. All right. Yeah, and I think this error message is actually using red. So I'm going to style it, apply some styling and text. So it's using the primary color. I see now why that was red. Okay. Yeah. And we're going to make this one a bit smaller. So I'm going to use XS, which is 12 pixels. Yeah. And let's just apply just a little bit of padding to the left and right. So I'm going to say maybe 1. Yeah. Okay, let's go to address the button here. The button is also going to use flex, items, center, justify, content, center. So everything is at the center, and we're going to make sure that it takes the full width, and we're going to give it a background color of blue there, 800. I keep getting confused around these colors, like which one is much darker and which one is not. I think this one. Anyways, let me save it. Let me save and see. Okay, this one needs height. Height is going to be the same as the input field, which we said is 14. Yep. And then I think there's need for space between these two, which is like 24. So that would be 4. So let's give it a margin top. I'm just going to apply it here, which is 5, I guess. So if you're using a Figma file, then you're going to have much accuracy, and that's when you can attain that pixel perfect when you submit your solution. But for now, we're just estimating things, right? Sort of like eyeballing. All right, and we're going to need to apply some radius, border radius, and I'm going to use large so that they can match with the. And text for the button is going to be white. All right, and I think another thing is it needs to be a bit bold here. So we're going to apply font bold. Okay. All right, so it looks like we now have the desktop. It seems to we have achieved that layout here, but I think there's pretty much space here. I might need to increase that. Yeah, this looks like 61. Wow. Let me just look at the default because that looks a bit different. Yeah, I'm gonna remove these. No longer need them. Yeah, there's much padding on the right here. Okay, I had given the same padding, so you can see like this one is like 60 something, 63. but all the other parts are the same. So padding left, and I'm going to apply this padding left to, this is inside this div. I didn't even give it anything at all because I'd only applied the padding here. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say padding left to 0. And then I'm going to come in here and say padding left. Oh, that was 60 something. So that should be 10, 15. Oh, really? Okay, about 14. Yeah, something like this. All right, perfect.